differently is there are some high-level takeaways of that both of them said in different ways. Number one, prepare. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Erin has been preparing for 12 years. Stephanie has been preparing for 7 years. Still prepares for 8 hours leading up to a testimony. But prepare. And by preparing, that is not just flat out preparing, it's preparing so that you know your issue, so that you know what you're saying, so that you know your audience, you know your, like all those things, you know your story, you know you're ready on all fronts there. So why preparation? And you guys, we have to do a little bit more preparing now because you haven't necessarily been doing it in this arena for 12 years or 7 years. Erin says Art of War. I love her reference to this. I love that she talks about this. And some of that is, you guys are volunteers, so you can't necessarily sit there and watch other hearings all the time. If you want to, I will show you how you can go and watch hearings. We can work on figuring out how to send out links, and you can, if you can't be there at a hearing, how to watch it. But some of this is, we'll get into this later, being on their Facebook, knowing who your legislators are, listening to news reports and stuff on, I mean, we know a lot right now about the messaging of opposition to the Affordable Care Act because we watch it and listen to that in our news coverage every single day. We know what questions, or I shouldn't say we, I know what is going to be said to me pretty much hands down if I bring up the Affordable Care Act. And I know how to respond to that and I know how to counter those things. And so some of that is really thinking that through. So prepare, 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 prepare. The next thing is making sure you have your ask, so you're preparing your ask, and that you make that ask, and that you remember to make that ask, and you have some way to trigger remembering to make your ask, because that is why you are there. Relationship development, this is not a one-time thing, and that I'll come back again as we go into Hook, Line, and Sinker when you're talking about, I think some people, a good advocate never views a meeting as their only chance to tell their story, and that's why you do not need to tell your story back to 1995. Because this is not the only time you're going to have that conversation with that legislator. And every time you meet with that legislator, you can tease out another little piece of your story depending on what you're working on. So relationship development, ongoing, what else are they working on? How can we be helpful to you as you're helpful to us? And then follow up. Those are kind of our big key pieces on preparing for going into a meeting. So the next section we're going to focus on is what you've started to hear alluded to is called the Hook, Line, and Sinker. This is the best framework. I've seen a lot of frameworks of lists, long lists of this is how you have an effective meeting. This is the best framework I've seen because it is very simple and you can take this tool and use it anywhere. When I did this training, one time there was like, there's parents in the audience and one time they brought some kids and I was like, kid, you want a new bike? You can use Hook, Line, and Sinker to figure out how to lobby your parents to get you a new bike. Hook, Line, and Sinker helps you give an effective framework that you can use in 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 30 seconds if you're really cut down, you're doing a hallway walking meeting, whatever, 3 minutes if you have an opportunity for a full testimony, which we'll get to later. If you're going to do some media outreach, you can use your Hook, Line, and Sinker in that. We'll also get to that later. If you have a 15-minute meeting, the glorious 15-minute meeting in Olympia, if you're in an interim meeting and you have an hour with your legislator, you can take this structure and you can shrink it down and build it out. But we're going to take some time in figuring out what your core is, and then your homework is like to continue to go, and then we're working up a session figuring out how you would build out or shrink down your Hook, Line, and Sinker. So the hook, and this we do. There is a handout on this. I think it ended up in the back, but it's called Hook, Line, and Sinker. Take as much notes as you want. I don't believe in telling people to stop, that you have to look at me the whole time. Take notes or don't. I've written it out pretty clearly. But again, you're gonna put together a little frame of your Hook, Line, and Sinker in a few minutes. But the hook. Why should this person care about me? By and large, what we tell advocates is because you're a constituent. We'll modify that thinking in this because there are some times where we do go into meetings with people who you're not a constituent. I will say it is much harder to get a meeting with a member who is that you are not a constituent, but we can still make the case. I sometimes have to do a hook when I'm trying to get you guys meetings. I'd be like, no, this person's not a constituent, but your member is the chair of the healthcare committee and they have experience with this issue. And this is really important for them to understand. So whether you're a constituent in their district or you're a constituent on their issue, we're making the case through your hook of why you should care. as we go this, I'm going to do my hook, line, and sinker around this. And my frame is that I'm trying to keep the Affordable Care Act in place. This is what I'm going to do with mine. Because it's something I care about a lot, and by the end of this, you're going to know why I care about this a lot. So my hook, I'm going to meet with Senator Reuben Carlisle, who is my senator. We're also going to look up our legislators at some point here. Because one thing I'll say is that like everyone defaulted to writing down their congressional district because there's only 10 and that's so much easier to understand. And that some of you have been to DC and have worked, done some advocacy there. And that's great, and we'll continue to do that work. A lot of what we're talking about is state.